I just don't think that Theresa May can deliver her shared society. It's not that the Prime Minister isn't genuine in her ambition to do something about the burning injustices in 21st century Britain. I think she is. And who other than the Thatcherite wing of the Conservative Party can disagree with her when she says that government has a duty to intervene to help those just getting by? But slogans are easy, action isn't. Here are just a few of my ideas of what she could do. She should increase spending on the National Health Service. She should ensure the lowest paid public sector workers get proper wage increases and give real power back to local authorities. The trouble is, doing any of that means increasing taxation nationally and locally. Now, I, for one, will be willing to pay more. But it's hard to see any government in the modern age, let alone a Tory government, voting for higher taxes. The end result? Well, I think those suffering from burning injustices continue to suffer. And Theresa May ends up failing to deliver as Prime Minister.
You know, Greg, I feel like we hear a lot about this, that Theresa May's genuine. You know, she genuinely wants a fairer society, and she often speaks about the way black people are treated in the criminal justice system. She's been speaking a lot about mental health for children. It sounds good, but I really would question how genuine that is, because for me, it's not just about how you turn the slogan into reality. The reality is a shared society means distributing wealth. If you don't distribute the wealth of those at the top towards those at the bottom, then it doesn't actually mean anything at all. It's meaningless. And furthermore, let's look at what Theresa May did when she was Home Secretary. Now, on some things, I have to applaud her. The way she treated the family of Stephen Lawrence when it emerged that the police had been spying on them, the way she spoke out about stop and search. Yeah. So on some things, she was very strong, but on many, she was deeply illiberal. Look at the Home Office go home vans that encourage people to spy on potential immigrants in their own community. Look at the way mental health services have deteriorated dramatically under the Conservative government. So for me, you know, whether it's genuine or not doesn't really matter, because the fact is we all know how you create a shared society. You redistribute wealth, you help people who are suffering with public services that really work. And she's never declared any intention to do that, and neither has her party.
Shame, isn't it? Shame. Because you look so lovely, you're going to look horrible in a boiler suit in North Korea, because that's what I've just heard from you. It is a fact. It is a fact that the inequality in this country is on the decrease. It is a fact that the richest 3% have never paid more tax. They're paying almost 30% of the whole tax take. How much more can they possibly give? Where I agree with Greg, I don't know why a Prime Minister gets hooked into these damn silly slogans. What was it before? The big society. It's now become the shared society. You're right, Afwin, that it's absolutely meaningless. And I do take your point. It's all very well saying we're going to do this, we're going to do this. If you look at mental health, actually, funding has been cut, and there are more people with mental health issues on the streets than ever before. That can't be wrong. But what I don't understand, I thought she was quite a canny woman. Why she's talked to such absolute cobblers as a shared society, it will be a millstone round her neck.
But I think it will be. But maybe, just give her some credit. Maybe she does believe it. Maybe she does say there is a problem about the inequalities within our society, and she would like to do something about it. The problem is she's in a political party that won't allow her to do that.
But Greg,
because in the end, you have to do that by redistribution wealth. And you have to do that, but therefore by taxing people who are earning and at the top level more, so that it goes down.
Well, I've got a New Year's resolution for you, and that is, why don't you volunteer to single-handedly pay more tax? Because every time we have a conversation, your resolution is we should tax people more.
No, what I'm saying is you can't make these sorts of promises
unless
you're willing to redistribute wealth.
I agree. Well, unless
through
you're
taxation.
No, you can't make those kind of promises without allocating funds to them.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Well, we agree. So hang on.
Come from?
So I don't want to pay a penny more tax until I feel that the tax that I'm currently paying is spent properly and not wasted.
But thankfully, the decision on whether you or not pay more tax won't be left to you. It'll be done by government.
Yeah, but why are you so...
all I'm pointing out is that there are contradictions. And the contradiction is, I want to have this much better society, I want poorer people to be much better off, we've got to help them, but we're not prepared to tax anybody to help them.
Yeah, but you don't just raise money just by taxing. People pay a lot of tax as it is, and what frustrates me is I feel, of course, the NHS is short of funds. No one will dispute that, but there is so much wastage and so much opportunity to create efficiencies already across the whole public services. And until everyone has looked at how are we investing the taxation that we currently have, is it spent properly and wisely and most efficiently? Only when that answer to that question is yes, would I be willing to give any more funds.
But okay, let's just take a look at this clip of Mrs May when she was interviewed on Sky last week and what she said.
Just to press you on the ring-fenced new money for mental health, because otherwise there is a danger it will just be swallowed up by the crisis in the NHS, isn't it?
Well, but first of all, money is going into mental health, but it's always wrong for people to assume that the only answer to these issues is about funding.
You see, in some ways she's right, that it isn't the only answer, but it is one of the answers.
But it's your solution to everything. The problems with the NHS, we need to pay more tax. I remember this in the last... The problems with, I think, handling migration. The problem with the England football manager, pay more tax. It's your solution to absolutely... There are people out there who can't pay more tax!
No, I don't think I solved the...
He's not saying everybody should pay more tax.
I can't pay... How much more have I got to give?
But the truth of the matter is that actually our taxation system isn't fair. That actually the
You did listen to those figures?
I listened to those figures, but as you know, there are many loopholes within those figures. And actually, a lot of corporations get away with not paying their fair share of tax too. And if you look at the issue, you're talking about society being the fairest it's ever been. That's not true because
less inequality.
Less inequality because people don't feel that way. And you know, I'm not harping on about Brexit or again and again, but actually, when you look at the people who voted out, they voted out for that very reason because they don't feel the system is fair. And it's everything we've been talking about today. So I think what Theresa May actually needs to do is to create a conversation between the nation about where people are.
What the bloody hell does
because you
that
know
mean?
what, if you are paying more tax and you know where it's going and you know exactly what it's going to do and you know what her long-term vision is, you're happy to pay.
But you don't keep putting more water into a leaky bucket. That is what I feel.
But without being rude, have you ever tried running a National Health Service?
No, I haven't. But what I have done...
Don't tell me you screwed up that job as well. You screwed up everything else.
Let me respond, because what I have done for many years is worked and led significant business transformation programmes where I have looked and I have used technology to create efficiencies, where we've changed businesses, we've changed strategies.
And you think the people aren't employing people like you in the National Health Service?
Well,
the National Health Service has been stuffed full of consultants.
But
like
the NHS has wasted millions on failed IT projects, for example, like millions and millions across the whole public sector on broken IT.